So today we return back to Warwickshire, and it's not like, I always have to sort of stress this. Whenever I look to do sort of videos, I do check what's going on with these reform people. And honestly, there is so much. And not only just the stuff that does get covered, it's the stuff that also doesn't sometimes get covered as well. So I am honestly spoilt for choice when we want to talk about what nonsense reform we're up to on these councils. And probably after the next local elections next year, I will probably be even more spoilt for choice about what's going on. But as I've said, I will try and cover as much as I possibly can. But if you do know something that is going on and I haven't yet covered it, please, by all means, do leave a comment down below and let me know. I do check out the comments. So I do see what goes on down there. So please, if you do see something, do let me know. I'm more than up for like having to check it out and finding it out. Um, if you are someone who works for a council or are a councillor, you want to contact me. I have had a couple of people contact me already about what's going on in some of these councils. So unfortunately, for some of these people, I can't talk about what's going on because, well, their positions at the council might be might lose their job, and I don't want to have that to them. But I've heard a lot of stuff about what's going on in some of these councils. Equally, again, as I've always said, if you are a councillor and you want to come on and you want to tell people like what's going on with a policy or what reform are up to on your council, by all means, get in contact with me. I'm more than happy to have you on and talk about it, regardless of whatever party you are from. Because ultimately, I think people need to be really aware that they are an absolute disaster. They're absolute omnishambles of a local party, and they will probably not help your local council in any way. They will probably do a great deal of damage. As I've said before, we're coming up into budget season in December, where a lot of these parties are expected to be producing their draft budget. We're almost at the end of September. TikTok in some of these cases. But anyway, we are going, of course, back to Warwickshire. And of course, you may remember that they were making this whole big kerfuffle about flags and what flags they could and couldn't fly. And quite frankly, it's honestly just a gigantic waste of time. But there was a call in. And this is when councillors can sort of challenge the decision made by the cabinet and bring it to a full council. Now, we're going to find out more, of course, what happened here. But unfortunately, it does look like that the challenge to this did actually survive. So wouldn't be, of course, too surprising if maybe, guess what, the Conservatives abstained. I am probably going to be, saying that is probably what happened. But we'll see. So, as always, do remember to, of course, click that down below. There is, of course, the like and share. And, of course, ring the bell button as well, and of course subscribe if you are new to the channel. Down below, of course, there are links to my Patreon page, the Buy Me Coffee link, where you can well buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course the YouTube membership down below as well. And of course, was Wednesday very recently, so for all the Patreon members and all the YouTube members, you will be getting a new video just yesterday. So as always, thank you very much for all the support that you guys do show. So let's crack on then into this. So Reform UK Council flag rule change survives challenge. So a last-ditch attempt to stifle Reform's UK flag policy at Warwickshire County Council has failed. This policy will now only see the county, the union, and the St George's flag fly outside the Shire Hall headquarters. Unless, of course, special permission is then granted by the council chairman, Reform Councillor Edward Harris. So basically, he now gets to decide. Be interesting to see what happens next year when we get Pride Month. Is he going to allow that flag to be flown? I have a sneaking suspicion he's not going to allow it. But you will very clearly see what flags he is and isn't going to be allowed to be flying. It's going to be very, very political. So the opposition Green, Labour, Independent and Liberal Democrat councillors all joined forces to call in now the policy and have it reviewed by the scrutiny committee by the reform-led authority. The chief executive previously had responsibility for deciding which flags could be flown on council buildings, but was stripped of that power earlier this month. And I've said before, her being stripped of that power should be worrying a lot of people. Because if Reform are willing to be so petty over this power, then what other powers could they then strip from other council executives or officers? That should be worrying probably more people. And I think that's the real story about all this. Because the flag stuff, as I've said before, it's a complete waste of time and quite frankly resources on this, and Reform are wasting everyone's time. There was nothing wrong with the previous flag policy. They've done it basically to score political brownie points. It's pure theatre, pure political theatre, but they've got nothing else to do, so they've got no other policies, so of course they're going to do it to make it look, like they're doing something. So, back to this. It comes, of course, after a row over the flags broke out during the council over the summer. After the current chief executive, Moog Authority, blocked Finch's request to remove the Progress Pride flag at Shire Hall, a redesigned rainbow flag with additional colours to represent a wider range of marginalised communities. So, guess which flag they're going to be blocking next Pride Month, if a Pride flag gets flown at all next year. Attempts, of course, have now been made to have the new policy thrown out. It failed when the scrutiny committee vote broke down requests to introduce cross-party decision-making boards with now a requirement to publish the reason behind rejections. That is the big thing. The requirement to publish the reason behind the rejections, because that way you can absolutely just embarrass them when they start showing, this was nothing but performance politics, and they're being really highly political about their selections and rejections. During, of course, the meeting, Reform councillor Michael Bannister said that the flag debate was now a storm in a teacup, suggesting that opposition parties were now making too much of this. There was nothing wrong with the original flag policy. You had no reason to do this. There was no reason for you to go changing all of this. You are now the ones making this complete political theatre. You are the ones now deciding, oh yeah, we are going to okay that flag, but not that flag. Why are you not okaying that flag? Oh, well, we can't. That's why. Oh yeah, you've got to publish the reasons why you're going to reject it. That's the biggest thing you've got to try and get across. But I think that, unfortunately, by the sounds of it, has failed. However, the policy was completely branded childlike by independent councillor Judy Flapp, who believed it was now only pushed through because the Reform Council leader George Finch did not like being told what he could not do something by the council's chief executive, Moog Authority, which absolutely true on this. And if they're going to throw such tantrums next time, what happens next time when another council executive says no, and they strip another power, and they do this? This is what the real story about all this really is. It's the fact that they are willing to strip powers away from council executives and bring it back into their own party, which is really worrying. So the Green councillor Sam Jones, who suggested the flag policy was actually about eliminating all things pride, he said, we used to arrest, even castrate people for even being gay in this country. We've had it now done in living memory, he said. Raising the pride flag is a promise that we as custodians of this council make to do that all we can to ensure that will never return to those days when those people felt like they had to now hide from the world. It doesn't take a genius to work out that raising that flag it doesn't take a genius to work out that raising the flag of the county that did the castrating and the imprisoning and even denying the rising of the pride flag alongside it doesn't exactly send the most now welcoming of messages. But Bannister said that the reason for the policy was no one organization should be put above another. But that argument now applies to you, and I don't think they even realize it. I hope they threw the argument back in his face, because you are now the ones who decides that You are now the one who gets to decide that. I think we have to look in on this meeting and watch this. So we might actually do it on Wednesday. Well, we might actually do it tonight. So we might have already done it in this case. No one, of course, should feel that this is part of any attack on anybody in his or her part of sector of the community. We're all, of course, inside or outside Shire Hall as employees, he said. That is, of course, not the point, but it is now a very clear and simple policy. It is there for the future. It is not in any way discriminatory whatsoever. But the problem there becomes it can be used in a discriminatory way. I don't even think they understand that is what they have done. That they can now start to discriminate and pick and choose who they can go for. That is why I really wish that because I think it, by the looks of it, failed, get them to publish their rejections. And now that they can't reject, then what you should do, get them on record. Just start slamming them with letters in the council meetings. We put, this group sent they wanted to fly this flag. This was rejected. We want to know why it was rejected. Start getting them on that and start calling them out that they are being discriminatory. Start calling them out that they said, oh, this wasn't about picking and choosing winners. No, they are now the ones who get to discriminate. They are now the ones who get to pick the winner. So they are discriminating on this. If they are willing to discriminate in such a way and this petty a manner, where are they then willing to do this in another sector? Well, once again, looks like a really way to do it. Oh, we're not discriminating. This is all perfectly legal, which you'll all notice this is something the language they've now started putting up. Anyway, he finished it off by, of course, saying, I think this whole fuss and furore over this is now being raised by a very small number of people who are not representative of the whole of the community in Warwickshire. But then that's the whole point. That is the whole point of this. They are being so discriminatory on this and they don't even realize it. But there you go. We should not be surprised, but this should be very worrying. This should be very worrying because it goes to show you how petty reform will be if they don't get their way. And if they are willing to be so petty and strip powers away from council executives and council officers, where might they be willing to do this elsewhere? So you have to watch and you have to be very careful because they are very, very authoritarian when it comes to this type of stuff. Very authoritarian indeed. So, as always, let me know what you think about this down below. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.